6 Russian Bukanka vans destroyed in just one day may not sound like a major shock in a war filled with tanks, artillery, and missiles. But on the Ukrainian battlefield, that small number points to a much larger change. Even ordinary logistics vehicles are being pulled directly into the drone hunting zone. These are not armored columns rushing toward defensive lines. These are vehicles carrying ammunition, fuel, food, equipment, and soldiers. They used to belong to the rear side of the war, but now they can be detected the moment they leave a shelter, move across a dirt road, or stop near a gathering point. The danger is that one destroyed vehicle can slow down an entire operational rhythm. If ammunition does not arrive on time, artillery fires less. If fuel does not reach its destination, mechanized vehicles have to stop. A burning vehicle on a narrow road can force the entire supply line behind it to change direction, wait, or become exposed to Ukrainian UAVs. In the low sky, reconnaissance UAVs watch supply roads, garages, shelters, and parking areas. Below them, FPV drones wait for the moment a target appears. A dust trail, an open door, a van changing direction, or a group of soldiers standing near a vehicle can all become signs for a strike just minutes later. Why have ordinary logistics vehicles become such important targets on the Ukrainian battlefield? How are FPV drones turning supply routes near the front line into hunting grounds? And what happens to Russia's offensive pressure when trucks, vans, and ATVs can no longer move safely toward the front? Let's find out with military force. Russian supply routes are becoming hunting grounds for Ukraine's FPV drones. The first targets are often not tanks or armored vehicles. They are trucks, Bukanka vans, ATVs, and utility vehicles that carry ammunition, fuel, food, parts, and soldiers between rear positions and the front line. These vehicles may look ordinary, but they keep the Russian war machine moving. Without them, artillery fires less, infantry waits longer, and damaged units struggle to return. This is why Ukraine is treating logistics vehicles as high-value targets. A truck leaving a shelter, a van crossing a dirt road, or an ATV stopping near a gathering point can quickly become part of the battlefield. The danger no longer begins at the trench. It can begin on the road behind it, where a driver may believe he is still outside the main combat zone. FPV drones make that road smaller and more dangerous. They can fly low, follow a vehicle through gaps in cover, and strike from angles that larger weapons cannot easily reach. When these drones carry reinforced warheads, even a small hit can cause serious damage. A strike into the engine area can stop the vehicle. A hit near the fuel tank can set it on fire. A blast into the cargo space can destroy ammunition, supplies, or soldiers riding inside. The loss of one vehicle may seem limited, but the effect can spread. A burning van can block a narrow road. A destroyed supply truck can force other drivers to slow down or turn back. A route that was supposed to feed the front can suddenly become a place commanders avoid, delay, or try to cross only under pressure. That change matters because Russian assaults depend on a steady flow of support, not only on the number of troops sent forward. Small vehicles such as Bukanka vans are especially important because they are flexible. They can move through secondary roads, reach smaller units, and operate where heavier vehicles are too visible or too exposed. But that same flexibility now brings risk. More movement creates more chances to be detected, and every short trip near the front line can become another opening for an FPV attack. Ukraine's purpose is not simply to destroy metal on the road. The deeper aim is to slow the rhythm of Russian operations. When supplies arrive late, pressure at the front weakens. When vehicles must hide longer, movement becomes less predictable. When drivers fear roads, logistics turns from routine work into a daily gamble. Burned vehicles are only the visible layer of the problem. Behind each precise FPV strike is a faster system of observation and attack, and that system is changing how close support reaches the battlefield. Ukraine's drone units are turning battlefield observation into immediate attack. The key change is not only the number of FPV drones in the air. It is the way Ukraine connects reconnaissance UAVs with strike drones and kamikaze drones. One platform watches the road, the shelter, the warehouse, or the parking area. Another platform moves closer, confirms the target, and attacks before the vehicle can disappear again. This creates a short kill chain, where detection, tracking, and impact can happen within minutes, before Russian crews fully understand that they have been seen. This speed matters because Russian logistics vehicles rarely stay exposed for long. A truck may leave a garage for only a short drive. A van may cross an open stretch before turning behind trees. An ATV may stop near a trench line just long enough to unload men or supplies. In the past, that brief exposure might not have been enough for a strike. Today, if a Ukrainian UAV is already watching the area, a few minutes can be enough. Reconnaissance. UAVs provide the wider picture. They can scan roads, shelters, depot entrances, side tracks, and small gathering points where vehicles pause before moving forward. They do not need to attack every target by themselves. Their value is in finding movement, holding the target in view, and helping the strike drone approach from a useful angle. This turns the air above the front into a layer of constant attention. That is what makes daily movement near the front so dangerous for drivers. The strike drone then adds pressure at close range. An FPV or kamikaze drone can fly toward the last known position, adjust its line, and follow signs of movement. A dust trail behind a vehicle, a fresh track across a field, an open shelter door, or soldiers standing near a van can all become signals. None of these signs are dramatic alone, but together they tell an operator that something important is moving. This is why the battlefield is becoming harder to hide inside. A vehicle does not need to be parked in the open for a long time. It only needs to reveal a pattern. If the same road is used often, if a shelter opens at repeated hours, or if a small convoy pauses near a tree line, that behavior can be watched, measured, and attacked. Ukraine's advantage comes from turning routine movement into usable information. The same method can also shift from one target type to another. A drone mission that begins with a vehicle may end with a strike on infantry nearby. A drone sent toward a shelter may discover an ATV, a small boat, or another vehicle moving through the same area. This flexibility is important because the front is not a clean battlefield with fixed targets. It is a moving space where opportunities appear and vanish quickly. For Russian units, this creates a serious command problem. A driver cannot know whether the sky above the road is empty or already under observation. A small logistics team cannot know whether a stop near a building has been noticed. A commander cannot assume that a hidden vehicle is safe simply because no artillery is falling. The threat is quieter, closer, and often faster than older forms of firepower. The result is a different kind of pressure. Ukraine is not only waiting for large Russian assaults to form, it is watching the smaller movements that make those assaults possible. Fuel, ammunition, spare parts, and replacement troops all need routes, stops, and vehicles. If those steps are observed and hit quickly, the front line receives support later, in smaller amounts, or under greater fear. When the time between detection and attack falls to minutes, Russia's problem is no longer only the loss of vehicles. It must rethink how to move them near the front, because every trip can become part of a drone strike sequence. Russia is being pushed into a harder problem near the front line: how to use vehicles when even hiding them is no longer enough. Large vehicles once gave Russian units the ability to move heavier loads, shift men faster, and support assaults confidently. Trucks could carry ammunition and fuel. Support vehicles could bring spare parts, tools, and equipment. Armored platforms could move closer to the front when commanders needed pressure. Now that pattern is more dangerous because a vehicle can be detected before it fully enters the fight. It may be seen while parked near a shelter, waiting inside a garage, or moving from one covered point to another. This changes the meaning of protection. A roof, a wall, or a tree line can hide a vehicle from some angles, but it cannot guarantee safety against a drone team. An FPV drone does not need a wide road or a perfect approach. It can wait for movement, fly low near the ground, approach through a gap, or strike the side of a vehicle at the moment it leaves cover. If the driver turns too slowly, stops in the open, or parks with part of the vehicle exposed, a short mistake can become a direct hit. For Russia, the result is not only physical loss. A truck that survives inside a shelter but cannot move at the right time is still a problem for the unit waiting ahead. Ammunition may remain in the rear. Fuel may not reach the vehicles that need it. A damaged gun may not receive spare parts. Wounded soldiers may wait longer for evacuation. In military terms, a vehicle that cannot be used freely has already lost part of its value. This is why Russian units appear to rely more on smaller transport in some areas. ATVs, light vehicles, civilian-style vans, and quick-moving utility cars can be harder to notice than large trucks, and they may move along narrow routes that bigger vehicles cannot use. They also allow commanders to split supplies into smaller loads, which can reduce the damage from one successful strike. But this adjustment has a cost. Small vehicles carry less cargo, so the same mission may require more trips. More trips mean more engines, more dust, more stops, and more chances to be noticed. These vehicles also have little protection. A hit that might only damage a heavier truck can completely destroy a light vehicle or set its cargo on fire. If the cargo includes fuel or ammunition, the loss can spread beyond the vehicle itself. The pressure also affects timing. Drivers may wait for darkness, bad weather, or short windows when they believe drones are less active. Commanders may delay movements, choose longer routes, or break convoys into smaller groups. These choices may reduce exposure in one moment, but they slow the flow of supplies. A frontline unit does not only need resources eventually, it needs them at the right hour, when an assault is forming, artillery is firing, or infantry is holding a position under pressure. This is the deeper effect of Ukraine's FPV campaign. It forces Russia to spend more time, more vehicles, and more attention on tasks that once seemed routine. Moving supplies becomes a tactical operation. Leaving a garage becomes a risk. Parking near a shelter becomes a decision that must be judged against the sky. When vehicles near the front are forced to hide, split into smaller loads, and move more slowly, Ukraine gains room to push pressure deeper into the Russian system, where radar, ammunition, fuel, and air defense keep the war machine running. Ukraine is widening the drone campaign from road vehicles to the deeper systems that keep Russia's front lines supplied and protected. The targets now reach beyond trucks moving near the trenches. Radar sites, ammunition depots, fuel rail cars, supply warehouses, and air defense equipment have become part of the same pressure campaign. This matters because these assets do not fight in the same way as infantry or armor, but they make combat possible. A battery needs shells. A mechanized unit needs fuel. A drone defense network needs radar. If these elements are hit, the front may still exist on the map, but its ability to act becomes weaker. Radar is one of the most important targets in this chain. A radar station gives Russian forces the ability to detect aerial threats, follow their path, and pass information to air defense crews. When Ukraine damages a radar dome or the station inside it, the loss is not just a damaged structure. It can create blind spots, delay warning time, and make it harder for Russian units to understand what is coming through the air. In a war where UAVs are already central, even a short gap in detection can matter. Air defense systems are another valuable part of the network. A launcher, radar vehicle, or command vehicle may cost far more than the drone used against it, but the larger issue is not price. The larger issue is coverage. If one part of an air defense layer is removed, nearby depots, roads, troop areas, and command points may become easier to approach. That is why Ukraine treats these systems as more than defensive equipment. They are gates that protect the rear area. The same logic applies to ammunition and fuel. A destroyed ammunition depot can reduce the number of shells available for artillery units. A burning fuel train or fuel storage site can slow the movement of trucks, armored vehicles, generators, and engineering equipment. A supply warehouse hit at night can force Russian units to move stocks, divide storage, or use less efficient routes. These are not always dramatic changes in a single hour, but they can shape the pace of fighting over many days. Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea carry different weight in this system. Donetsk and Luhansk support the Eastern Front, where Russian forces need constant ammunition, replacement troops, fuel, and repair capacity to maintain pressure. Crimea has a wider role. It supports southern operations, hosts important military infrastructure, and remains a symbol of Moscow's control. When Ukraine strikes assets in these areas, the message is not only tactical. It shows that rear space can be contested and that distance alone no longer guarantees protection during a long, grinding war. This is why the drone campaign should be seen as an attack on Russia's military rhythm. Vehicles near the front are one layer. Radar, depots, fuel, and air defense are deeper layers. If all of them come under pressure at the same time, commanders must spend more effort on protection, dispersal, repair, and replacement instead of only supporting attacks. But Ukraine's drone advantage is not only the growing range of targets. The more dangerous part is the operator's ability to make new choices while the drone is already in flight, which means any exposed asset can suddenly become the next priority. Ukraine's drones are becoming more dangerous because they can change the mission while they are in the air. This is one of the strongest advantages of FPV and kamikaze drones. They are not only flying explosives, they are also cameras, sensors, and decision tools in the hands of trained operators. A drone may be launched toward one target, but if the operator sees a better one on the route, the strike can change in seconds. A mobile air defense vehicle, a radar, an ammunition truck, or soldiers gathering near cover can suddenly become the new priority. That flexibility creates a different kind of fear for Russian units. A crew cannot assume that a drone passing nearby is meant for another target. A vehicle cannot stay exposed simply because the original strike was aimed elsewhere. In a crowded battlefield, every movement is an invitation for attention. Once the camera sees something valuable, the operator can decide whether to continue, circle, or dive. This makes FPV warfare different from older firepower. A shell follows a path after it is fired. A missile may have guidance, but it is often tied to a selected target or a more complex launch process. A drone controlled in real time can read the battlefield as it moves through it. Its value is not only the warhead, its value is the human decision behind the camera, the live video feed, and the ability to turn a brief opening into an immediate strike. Both Russia and Ukraine are trying to reduce this danger with counter-drone measures. Vehicles are covered with nets, shelters are reinforced, and routes are adjusted. Some soldiers use thermal camouflage or special coverings to reduce their heat signature. Units also try to park under trees, inside garages, or under roofs that break the direct line of sight from above. These measures can help, but they do not create a perfect shield. A net may disturb the final approach of a drone, but it may not protect the engine, wheels, open doors, or exposed cargo. Thermal camouflage can reduce a clear heat shape, but movement still matters. A vehicle leaving a shelter can reveal itself through dust, tracks, exhaust, or nearby troops. Even a hidden position can become visible if people gather around it too often. The main problem is that hiding must now work against several layers at once. A target must avoid reconnaissance UAVs, survive the FPV threat, limit its heat signature, reduce movement, and prevent any pattern from appearing. That is difficult in a war zone where fuel, ammunition, repairs, and evacuation still require daily activity. So concealment has become temporary rather than final. It can delay a strike, confuse an operator, or save a vehicle for one trip, but it cannot remove the larger danger. When hiding on the ground becomes only a short-term answer, the drone war begins to rise into the low sky, where UAVs no longer only hunt vehicles and depots. They begin to hunt each other. Ukraine is pushing the drone fight into the low sky, where UAVs are no longer only tools for watching or striking ground targets. Interceptor drones are becoming an important part of this shift. Their job is to hunt Russian UAVs before those aircraft can complete their own mission. That matters because a Russian reconnaissance UAV is not just a camera in the air. It can find Ukrainian artillery, mark troop positions, follow supply routes, and help guide fire onto defensive lines. If it remains overhead long enough, it can turn a quiet position into a target. By using interceptor drones, Ukraine is trying to break that chain earlier. Destroying a Russian UAV does more than remove one flying device. It can blind a Russian artillery team, delay a strike mission, or force enemy operators to send another drone into the same dangerous airspace. Each interception adds cost, time, and uncertainty to Moscow's battlefield routine. This is why the low sky has become a contested layer of the front. Ground units below are trying to move, hide, repair, and resupply. UAVs above them are trying to observe those movements. The side that links these pieces faster can keep pressure on the enemy while limiting its own exposure. For Russia, the loss of UAVs can weaken more than surveillance. It can reduce confidence in artillery coordination, slow target confirmation, and make commanders less certain about what is happening beyond the next tree line or road bend. Without steady aerial observation, even a large force can move with less awareness and greater fear of sudden Ukrainian fire. From the ground to the low sky, the same rule is becoming clear today in Ukraine now. The force that sees first, reacts faster, and keeps its drone network alive longer will have a stronger chance to control the enemy's movement tempo. Ukraine's drone war shows that modern combat is no longer shaped only by tanks, artillery, and air defense systems. It is also shaped by vans carrying ammunition, fuel trains, supply depots, radar stations, and UAVs flying above the battlefield. These targets may look less dramatic, but they decide whether a front line can keep fighting. By linking FPV drones, reconnaissance UAVs, kamikaze drones, and interceptor drones, Ukraine is building pressure across several layers of the Russian system. The effect is not only destruction, it is delay, uncertainty, and loss of confidence in movement. For Russia, the challenge is now wider than protecting vehicles. It must protect routes, shelters, depots, radar coverage, and aerial observation at the same time. If this pressure continues, future armies may have to redesign how they move, hide, supply, and survive under constant drone surveillance. If this analysis helped you understand how drones are changing the cost of war, please subscribe to Military Force for more clear and factual battlefield breakdowns. War is not only about weapons and tactics. It is also a warning about how quickly human lives, cities, and entire supply systems can be placed under pressure when conflict is allowed to grow. By studying these battles carefully, the goal is not to celebrate destruction, but to understand the reality of modern warfare and why peace remains the most important victory.